Hello everybody, this is Wolfgang von Latman from chaliceofimmortality.com, and today what I'd like to discuss is medicinal herbs and why are they beneficial. So I was just watching a long-ass video on a particular YouTuber's channel. He's very well known for his raw meat diet. His name is Farage. It's spelled something like SVEIR3GE or something like that, okay? But you'll find him if you look up raw meat diet. And I enjoy watching his videos from time to time because, not because I believe with what he says, okay? Let me make that very clear right now. I enjoy looking at all of the different perspectives on all sides of things, especially on the extremes. And his channel brings a lot of ex-vegans onto the channel who talk about their experiences or their bad experiences with veganism and why they found in their own experience that veganism wasn't good for them. And something I see very often in his videos, and I saw just recently, again with one of the ex-vegans he brought on, is that he constantly talks about how garlic is toxic to the brain and garlic is unhealthy for the body and this and that. And, you know, this ex-vegan he brought on to recently was talking about like cayenne pepper and how cayenne pepper isn't good for you, and he basically said that medicinal herbs are unhealthy because they were not, you know, natural to, you know, primal humans in every region or something. Like if you're living in the forest, you're only going to have fruits and vegetables and herbs, or, you know, food. The food that grows in the forest is the only food you're going to be eating. So cayenne pepper might not grow in the forest that you're living in back in primal times. And like just like bananas are, you know, only in the tropics or whatever, you're not going to find bananas in the middle of the Sahara Desert. Even though I don't really know. I've never lived in the Sahara Desert and haven't even researched that. But the point is, he's saying like, back in primal times, you know, cayenne pepper wasn't found indigenously, you know, or like, you know, like gotu kola, bladderwhack, any of these medicinal herbs, they were only found in certain areas. And if your ancestors didn't grow up in that area back in primal times, then it's dangerous and unhealthy because of that. And you know, that makes no sense, like that type of logic. I'm completely down with, you know, our bodies are basically meant to consume certain foods in certain ratios, okay? Human beings are meant to eat certain things. And some foods we're not meant to consume. And if we consume a lot of foods that our body is not meant to process, then we're going to have health problems because of it. For example, if I attempted to eat this metal fork right here, I'd probably die really fast because my body's not meant to assimilate it. I know that's an extreme example, but it's very relevant here, and it proves my point. Because a lot of people like to say, oh, just because it's not natural, you know, doesn't mean that it's unhealthy. You know, there's a lot of natural things out there that are natural, and just because it's natural doesn't mean that it's healthy. And that's once again, that's just as retarded. That's a very retarded thing to say. Because it's missing the point and it's not understanding the context of this. Once again, if I eat this plastic spoon, you know, I could probably milk this and drink this. Believe it or not, a lot of people, the things that they're getting in their foods, the processed foods and whatnot, are pretty much the equivalent of plastic. You know, a quick Google search, you could find plenty of products that have plastic byproducts in them. and people consume this on a regular basis. But if I ate this spoon, you know, or plastic every single day, melted plastic, I'd probably develop some pretty severe illnesses, if not soon, within a couple years. So something being meant for human consumption, like biologically, yeah, that matters, you know. When we talk about a human's natural diet, we're really just talking about what are humans meant to consume. Like, is this meant for human consumption or is it not? You know, like artificial trans fats, hydrogenated oils, these are not meant for human consumption, okay? They're isolated molecules that are modified in a lab, and our body has never gotten used to consuming it. That's a big thing. But, you know, 20,000 years or more into the past, or however long it was, when you know, I know it was a lot longer than that, when the world like split apart because of the supposed earthquake or whatever it might have been, the meteor hitting the earth that separated the regions, you know, it happened a long time ago. Whatever, the point, what I'm trying to say is, you know, what happened, you know, what the humans, what was only available to us 20,000 years ago, or a million years ago, or when you know, primal times, paleo times, the Bronze Age, whatever the fuck, okay? The point is, back in those primal times, what was available to us, you know, our individual ancestors or whatever, it has relevance to now, but it's not to a largely significant degree, okay? When we're talking about like, oh, you know, if I eat garlic, you know, I'm gonna die. It's toxic it kills brain cells because my ancestors back in Paleolithic times didn't have access to it, or you know, cayenne pepper is a hybridized plant, and because it's been hybridized, you know, it's toxic. Like that has a correlation and an influence on whether or not it's healthy, but there's deeper mechanisms. It's only a small part in the chain of events that, you know, actually matter. What really matters is the mechanism of action within the body. What matters is when I consume this plant, what is the result? Okay, and I can tell you, for somebody who's been taking medicinal herbs, you know, solid as my only medicine for 4 years now. Yeah, it's been about 4 years, maybe more. I can tell you for sure. First of all, there are very specific mechanism of action behind all medicinal herbs, like no duh. Second of all, every herb obviously has different purposes in the body, but they're called medicinal herbs for a reason. When I have a cold, or if I kiss a girl with the flu, if I have strep throat, even when I had a staph infection on my ear and my lymph nodes were swollen, okay, I used herbal medicine to heal me of it. And just eating, like, you know, a raw meat diet, or you know, whatever diet you think is like the human's natural diet, or the nirvana diet, right? The diet of the heavens. Like, if I just ate that diet, it most likely would not have, you know, healed me from the staph infection or the strep throat or whatever it may have been. Now, I don't know this because I've never gone on a 100% raw diet, okay? I have eaten, you know, raw animal products quite often in the past 4 years, and recently, I mean, I've been eating raw eggs pretty much every single day, and raw fish, you know, at least once a week, but pretty damn often. Especially if you see my Instagram posts, you'll see. I love raw fish and raw eggs, and I've eaten, you know, raw steaks on and off as well. I believe that there are strong benefits behind doing these things. However, what I'm saying is medicinal herbs work because that's what they're meant for. They are literally medicinal plants. It's almost like, it's like nature's gift to humans. You could think of it as, you know, nature's medicine, or if you're religious, God's medicine. But anyway, so there was this guy that he had brought on his one of his interviews recently was saying that herbal medicine does not work. He says the reason why people think herbal medicine works is because they switch out ice cream at night for an herbal tea. And just removing the ice cream is what actually causes them to feel better, not the herbal tea. And when you replace, you know, junk food with healthy food, it's not that the healthy food is healing you, it's that you're removing the junk. And this was his only like rational reasoning behind it. I mean, he kept like stuttering and changing his sentence multiple times, and it just didn't sound like he really understood what he was saying. And he seems pretty smart, so eventually he'll probably rethink this. But you know, he was saying that you don't need herbal medicine, and he was talking about how when he was vegan for 6 years, you know, he needed like a whole shelf full of herbs and vitamin supplements just to stay alive. And he was saying that, you know, veganism it lacks nutrition, and you know, since it lacks nutrition, he had to get all that nutrition from herbs and vitamin supplements. And he was saying that if you eat like the human's natural diet, or like a paleo diet or a raw diet or whatever it is, then you shouldn't need supplements because you get all the nutrients you need from meats. And that, you know, there's truths that we can create from that, but what he's saying is it doesn't add up. At least his point about medicinal herbs not working. So basically the guy realizes that veganism did not work for him, just like I found out for myself. And he's all excited now because he feels like he's found the diet that does work for him. But now, since he's so gung-ho over this new diet, he's making all sorts of assumptions and conclusions that don't really add up and are just a product of his excitement. You know, and this is very, very common whenever we find a new diet, or we, you know, make a huge, like, enlightening realization or a paradigm shift out of nowhere. We start to, you know, we feel like we're on a new level, and we see all this, we see life through new eyes, and we make a lot of good assumptions and a lot of not so good assumptions. And this happens all the time. This happened to me many times before, and probably is happening right now. And this happens to everybody. But basically, he was trying to say that, you know, herbal medicine only works because you're replacing healthy things with, or you're replacing unhealthy things with healthy things. Instead of eating that ice cream every night, you're eating moringa or maca root. And so you feel better because you're not eating the toxic garbage. So, you know, that's bullshit. So basically, here's what really is going on. Here's the truth here. So yes, obviously, removing junk, removing toxic garbage, processed foods that don't work with your own body or your own digestive system, foods you have intolerances to, foods like wheat that can cause fibromyalgia, that can cause, you know, severe intestinal discomfort, that can cause hyperthyroidism and many other issues. When removing the junk is going to make you feel 1,000,000 times better, okay? But that's only half the equation. So once you remove the junk, then you start to add healthy food, okay? And tonic herbs are great for general use, for building vitality, building immunity, and building energy. Medicinal herbs are not something you just take every day for general health. You take medicinal herbs such as hawthorn berry or bacopa, which could be used as a tonic herb as well. But hawthorn berry is not a tonic herb. It's not something you should take every day. What it is it's a medicinal herb used primarily for cardiovascular conditions. It's a very powerful natural herbal remedy for cardiovascular issues. It's something that you should only take if you have a cardiovascular problem, and then once it's solved, you don't take it anymore. I forgot where I was going with this, damn it. But basically, you start to add the healthy things, okay? And you can add tonic herbs to have an even, bigger effect, So, removing the junk will make you feel great. And it's what everybody needs to start out with, to lose weight, to feel great, and to become healthy and, start to reverse and prevent chronic diseases. Removing the junk is the first step. The second step is, tweaking things to best suit your lifestyle, to help you reach your goals. For example, I do intense mixed martial arts almost every day, and I do powerlifting 3 to 6 times a week. So I do require a lot more nutrition than most people. And so since I've already gotten the basics of my health down, my diet in regards to health, now I've tweaked it to enhance my performance as best as possible. And on top of that, you start to take tonic herbs, depending on the season, depending on your current goals in life, to help support your body. Things like adaptogenic herbs like rhodiola, different types of ginseng, ashwagandha, and the gynostemma, and there's a lot of different types, and you should only take, one or a small combination of a few at a time, and do it strategically, okay? You can't just be like, oh, they're good for me no matter what, and just like eat a bunch of like tonic herbs. I used to do that all the time, but it's just a waste of money and doesn't make sense. And as long as you're consuming the highest quality of herbs and things that you can, and you're taking them the way that they're supposed to be taken, you will experience great benefit and nothing but benefit from them. And there's been many people throughout history, especially in Oriental cultures, but just you could find it, that are claimed to have lived very long lives, and credited the tonic herbs for this. And for me personally, I see everybody else being so sick, especially people who, they do the vaccinations and they're on these pharmaceutical drugs and whatnot, and they're always fucking sick, and they're blaming on allergies and just complete mindless nonsense. And I feel like, for one, I know what I'm doing is working. Sometimes if I catch a bug, I immediately start consuming garlic, and boom, like my illness is gone. So, these things have benefit. It has nothing to do with like, oh, you're replacing the garbage with, garlic and this and that. Like, no, it's not that at all. But that plays a role. So furthermore, one example that this guy always uses is that garlic kills brain cells. Well, first of all, I can tell you for sure, whenever I consume garlic, not only does it kill any kind of bug that I might have, but it also boosts circulation in a very noticeable way. Whenever I consume garlic, I get boners within an hour. I can breathe very deeply, very relaxed, very calmly, and increases circulation to a great degree. And it helps to relax my body, and my brain actually works a whole lot better because it's boosting circulation to the brain. Furthermore, there's a lot of scientific studies out there. I know a lot of people who believe in and who watch that guy's channel. They think that science is a devil, and you can't rely on science and this and that, which I can understand where they're coming from. I used to believe that too until I actually learned how to interpret scientific studies and understood what science is. But there's a lot of scientific research out there that actually shows garlic can actually increase cognitive performance and is actually good for the brain, primarily because it increases circulation to the brain. Not to mention the various nutrients that it has within it, and it's also cardiovascular, it's cardioprotective. So, you know, and there's plenty of research out there that shows this, and science is very important as far as, you know, debunking just like, you know, silly little theories out there. And mind you, just because most people call people quacks and pseudoscientists and things like that just because they disagree with what they're saying. But all of this is science, you know, trial and error, experimentation, observation, and criticism. This is all part of the scientific method. So, you know, this guy, Farage or whatever, is conducting his own scientific experiments. And so he is involved in science. But it's very important to consider science and consider how things work and biology and things like that. Because otherwise, anybody can make claims and just say, oh, fuck science, you know, the Xbox 360 in my brother's room is God. You know, like I was talking to it the other day and, you know, like it was telling me like the secret of life is, you know, like toilet water is holy water, and, you know, like, whoa. You know, like, first of all, obviously no one's going to believe that, but I mean, there's people all over the world that have access to the internet, okay? Little children that are in middle school can watch videos on YouTube and can be very easily convinced, you know, of dangerous claims and stupid claims and, you know, just crazy things. And anybody has access to a computer, so they can also create videos and say whatever the fuck they want. And so I feel like people do, a lot of people are over skeptical, and they're just too egotistical and arrogant and down talking everybody who believes in something different from them. I think that's bad. But I think that being able to use critical thinking, use reasoning, and you know, proper interpretation of science and of other people's statements, I think that that's very important. I think that when you just go on people's videos and you say, oh, like, this guy's a quack, and like, how can you believe anything he says? This is such a pseudoscientist and blah blah blah. This guy's full of shit. Like, people like that really need natural selection to wipe them out, because that's not getting anybody anywhere, and it's really just annoying and frustrating. But, you know, we need some kind of objective, you know, some way of interpreting things in an objective fashion, and that's what science attempts to be. But there's really nothing that works in absolute truths. But, you know, so there's a lot of scientific research out there that shows the benefits and the mechanism of action of medicinal plants. And when you put medicinal plants inside your body, we know from scientific research, or have a great idea for the most part, of what these herbs actually do. And we have thousands of years of people's experience as well. And this is very, very important. I really can't, like, it's crazy to me, can't believe that all these people will call me a quack or something like that, a pseudoscientist, because I believe in medicinal herbs. Yet they'll believe in, you know, scientific research that's only existed for the last 100 years. Like, that's crazy, and it just shows how, you know, irrational people really are, compared to, you know, 10,000 years of, you know, traditional medicine science. The science and practice of using medicinal herbs has been around for 10,000 years. We have people that have died from some treatments. We have people that have lived long and prosper from a lot of these treatments. And, you know, by now we know what works and what does not, and we know what to stay away from and how to use these things. 10,000 years is a very long time, okay? And if these things were dangerous or they killed brain cells or something, we would know by now. And if you compare this to some guy who does not believe in science and, you know, just kind of develops his own theories and just, you know, goes along with them, I mean, it's just not a very productive thing. So now I like watching Farage's channel, and I love listening to a lot of things he has to say, and I think it's a great thing that there's people out there who are, you know, sharing their experiences, their negative experiences on veganism, not because I'm against veganism, because I'm not against veganism, but because, and I'm not for a raw meat diet or something like that, but I think that's very important that people understand. You can't just believe like, oh, like, you know, there's all these, you know, the science says veganism's the best thing ever, and, you know, like this dogma and this religious attachment to any kind of diet, no matter what it is, it can hurt people. Okay, and that's my main takeaway on all of this. And he also mentioned Dr. CB, and he had a really strange way of explaining why Dr. CB was able to cure a bunch of people on a raw vegan diet, and he didn't really sound like he really believed in what he was saying or understood what he was saying. But I can tell you, from the way I see it, I believe that Dr. CB's methods works great for healing people, but might not be great for sustaining a long, healthy, thriving life. I think that raw veganism can be very, very healthy to reverse specific chronic health conditions, but I don't think that that's a good way to live for your entire life. So, but, you know, take that with a grain of salt. That's just my opinion, and I know of a lot of people who live that way for a while and say that they're happy. But, you know, it is what it is. So leave your questions and comments down below, and I'll talk to you soon.